Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, my name is Demigod Shmurda here. Hello and welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another episode of Arrowverse Analysis. After a major cliffhanger in the mid-season finale, Arrow needed to come back in a big way. Fans were expecting a massive bombshell to drop when the show returned. I mean, we're only halfway into the season, but Oliver's climactic death felt so final. How are our heroes going to survive without him? How are they going to grieve him so soon after grieving Sarah? Well, if you've at all seen these episodes, you'll probably know the direction that the season begins to pivot. Downward. So Oliver takes a backseat for these next couple episodes, which, in my opinion, doesn't have to be a bad thing. Arrow's been very good at handling episodes that prioritize the side characters in the past. Trust but Verify, Keep Your Enemies Closer, Blind Spot, Time of Death, Suicide Squad, The Secret Origin of Felicity Smoke. These are all good episodes. As far as I'm concerned, putting the focus on the side characters doesn't have to be a bad thing. What is a red flag, though, is just how short this season's next arc is. See, Arrow exceeds when telling longer, seasonal stories that allow plot points and character moments to breathe. But historically, unless it's a bottle episode, like a lot of the episodes I just mentioned, Arrow has struggled with shorter stories. Firstly, there was the Huntress duology in Season 1, and then there was... well, there really isn't another example, but still, there's precedent set and reason to be concerned. The writers had a lot of development to fit into a short amount of episodes, and basically every time you try to fit too much story into too short of a package, your product suffers. And this issue has only become more and more exasperated the more that writers have tried to do it, especially with a lot of modern superhero stuff. Have you seen the Red Death arc of The Flash? Yeah, this is basically Arrow's version of that, except the main character is MIA and there's no Pied Piper to keep me engaged. Another red flag. Malcolm Merlyn is no longer a background presence in the season. It seems like every episode he plays a major role in further tarnishes this character. I go in depth about the reasons why I hate what this season did to Malcolm in the breakdown itself, but let's just say him being a major focus here is not a good thing. And that's not even mentioning that something just feels off in this arc. Outside of Felicity, maybe, the characters barely react to Oliver's disappearance. Now, I don't think this is done on purpose, but typically when a writer plans to bring a character back, they may accidentally make the characters in-universe forget to react to their apparent death in the narrative. The result is that it makes the big moment in the climax of Uprising when Oliver returns feel incredibly hollow, since none of the characters actually believed he was dead. And again, I don't think that this was done on purpose, but it is just one more thing on the pile of what makes these episodes such a hard pill to swallow. Regardless of the reason or circumstances, the writers decided to take Oliver out of Starling and focus on the side characters in a contained story for the next 3 episodes. So I have to ask the question that the writers seem to really need to ask themselves going into this arc. Does Arrow work without the Arrow? It's been a while since I've done a multi-episode breakdown, so let's jump into it. If this is your first episode and you're wondering how my rating system works, there's a detailed description down below, along with a link to all my other episodes of Overanalysis. But I encourage that you watch this one first. I'm sure you'll still enjoy it. Also, just wanted to let you guys know that midway between me editing episode 1 and recording episode 2, I got sick, so you will notice that my throat sounds a little hoarse, my voice goes a little off in the edits and stuff like that, so that's why I just wanted to let you know. With that out of the way, let's return to the overanalysis. After a month-and-a-half long break, Arrow producer Mark Guggenheim joins Eric Olson to pen Left Behind, which first aired January 25th, 2015, and was directed by series veteran Glenn Winter. With Oliver MIA, Team Arrow attempts to continue his mission on the small scale, while a new crime boss assembles a new gang and plots a heist on the police evidence lockup. Starting on an action scene. Hey, guess who? This is now the first time that John has worn Oliver's hood. Actually, no, I'm wrong. It's the second time. He wore it once in season 1. Ha, good transition there from the stunt guy. Sorry, the stunt guy to David Ramsey. I was super off on that one because I fucking choked, dude. Let me do this properly. That was better.
Any luck finding Oliver?
Not yet, but I have every reconnaissance satellite I could hack, which is a lot looking for him. So the second he steps outside, we'll know.
If he steps outside, it's what we were all thinking.
I'm not. It's only been 3 days.
Okay, so this episode still takes place in, what, December or whatever the last episode was? Ooh, good transition.
We need to assemble an extraction team to free my wife.
From where? We don't know where Chenoe is located, and we have more pressing concerns. The Omega she has is harmless without its counterpart, Alpha. Alpha is being kept in a PLA military laboratory. The two of you with backup will break into the facility and recover the vial. It's tagged with a GPS tracker, which you'll need to disable before extraction.
And what about Tatsu?
I'm merely focusing on the task at hand, which, at the moment, is not recovering your wife.
Which is harsh words, but that's who Waller is, so...
I know you think you're going to be safe inside that suit of armor.
The Arrow and his partner go out there every night.
One night, hopefully very far off in the future, they're not going to come back. I don't want that to happen to you.
See, Felicity knows. Felicity already knows what happened to Oliver. And that's why she's trying to protect Ray. There's the fern.
The 2 cop shooters we took on last night, I've been trying to find the one that got away. Jose Anton. Anton is attached to a new crew working the Glades, the head of which is this gentleman.
So here we are now introduced to Danny Brickwell, aka Brick, played by Vinnie Jones. He's also the Juggernaut, bitch! You know, I said that as just a reference to his older work, and also because that line was funny. But I'm now realizing, I think him playing Brick is stunt casting, because he played another character that can take a lot of damage, who is indestructible. He played Juggernaut, and now he's playing another supervillain that's indestructible. Is this stunt casting? I think it might be stunt casting.
You think I'm in denial?
I think 4 days ago, Oliver challenged the world's greatest assassin to a duel.
He survived Lianyu and Hong Kong, and God knows what else. He defeated Malcolm Merlin and Slade Wilson.
For the record, both of those have a pretty big asterisk of barely behind them, Felicity. But see, I'm reading this a lot differently than the episode's presenting it. The episode is presenting it as Felicity is in denial, but the way I'm seeing it is that Felicity has already accepted it. Because again, that scene with Ray pretty much spells out, hey, I don't want you to get hurt or killed like I know Oliver just got killed. Also worth noting, where the fuck is the neutral site? Are they not taking travel time into account? Because, Jesus Christ, this is like the fucking 30 days to the inverse world that gets retconned the very next episode all over again. That's a Superman and Lois Season 2 reference, by the way, for those of you that haven't seen it. They introduce this reverse world that it takes Clark 30 minutes to get, or 30 days, sorry, to get from our Earth to the reverse world and then come back. So it at least takes 15 days to get through that portal if we're taking into account there and back. And it's just never mentioned again. And the people from the reverse world can come to our Earth and back as much as they please. And it doesn't take any time at all because the plot says so. So yeah, I don't think they're taking into account how long it takes to get a plane from Starling City to wherever and then climb up a fucking mountain. We saw Oliver start climbing that mountain when it was night, and then motherfucker, like, when he got to the top, it was daytime. So that's a good 8-hour climb just that we saw. And Oliver, we didn't even see him start at the bottom. Once it gets to like 2 weeks, then we can talk about Oliver being dead, okay? There's the sword Roz stabbed him with. Oh, look at this shot! Oh! And there's Oliver's corpse. That shot was fucking... How did they do that? They transitioned from CGI to the actual set so seamlessly. This asshole here is Maseo, by the way. He's gonna bring him to Tatsu so that she can... I don't know if they say it in this episode, but so that she can bring him back to life. I saw some people at the time saying, how can she just bring him back to life? And I think that's just a poor word choice on the part of the script writers. Oliver is on the brink of death right now from getting stabbed and then falling off a mountain, and somehow the motherfucker is still alive because Oliver's durability is just fucking insane. But again, I think bring back to life, I think that's just a poor choice of words. I don't think Oliver is dead here. The cold is preserving his body and barely keeping him alive, so Tatsu is just gonna nurse him back to health.
What we're planning here requires two things. No mistakes and the cops not knowing anything.
Fisher's not gonna say anything.
Was this side job his idea or yours? I dropped my first body with that piece. You know the deal. You take me down first, you walk out alive.
Dude, it's five. Five of the same, six of the same move.
He actually tagged me.
Think you scare me more than Brick does? Think again.
Why would he tip her off about Brick? Oh, because the plot says so. And because this arc is only supposed to last 3 episodes.
No, he didn't flip. He likes breathing too much.
And they're just having this conversation in front of a lawyer because the plot says so.
When your opponent is the mountain, you must be the sea. When he is the sea, you must be the mountain.
What does that mean?
Switch your attacks. Never do the same move more than twice. Otherwise, your opponent will learn to read you.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't recommend texting during a real fight.
Thought it might be Ollie.
I didn't realize his absence was weighing on you. If you like, I could have some of my old associates look into Oliver's whereabouts.
Would you?
Of course. He's family.
This motherfucker's pretending to... I'm not sure how to read that scene because we just established in the last episode that Malcolm does not actually give a fuck about her. So if he's looking into Oliver's whereabouts for Thea, are we just retconning that? I knew these next couple episodes were going to have some problems. I didn't know they were going to start piling up this quickly.
According to Laurel, Fisher's lawyer called Brick.
Can you trace that call back to where Brick is?
Or at least where his phone is. It's at a warehouse in the Glades.
Ooh, another good transition.
Waller said when we get this done, she'll get Tatsu back.
That's not what Waller said. Hey, that's some reused footage from season 1 right there. That was used in the pilot and in Lone Gunman. 'Cause this right here is Adam Hunt's building. What the fuck is this shot doing in season 3?
On the move.
Another good cut. Wow. Oh, is that a body?
Torching evidence. These just look like numbers.
Could you put the gun away? They don't scare so much as annoy me.
Good shot. Good one, John.
Oliver, have you heard from him since he went off to face Ra's al Ghul?
He's alive.
If he were, I suspect you would have heard from him by now.
Unless Ross took him prisoner.
The demon's head does not take prisoners.
See, at least now Roy's bringing up the devil's advocate both times in the episode.
Did they ID the body?
Jose Anton, career criminal with ties to Danny Brickwell. Where's Oliver?
Malcolm Merlin says Oliver's dead.
There isn't one thing that Malcolm Merlin can say that any of us should believe.
That's fair.
This isn't the first time that I've heard that Oliver was dead.
That's also true.
He's been back before. He'll be back again.
I like that it's Laurel and Felicity that have that moment, that understanding between the two of them, because they've both at least attempted to date Oliver. So it's like the two of them have some kind of connection, and I like that Felicity is now getting reinforced kind of sort of by Laurel. So I guess I just read the whole Felicity and Ray scene completely wrong, though. And here's Malcolm. He's going to the neutral site. Doing a lot of these really good transitions this episode. Although, it's gonna be like the next day by the time that Malcolm gets back from there, right? So are we implying that the neutral site was like right outside Starling? Because that's a like 8 to 10 hour climb that Oliver and Malcolm both just made. Unless Malcolm had someone fly him up there, which is entirely possible that he did. It would certainly explain how Oliver gets back there, or back from there so fast in Uprising. Where is this big-ass mountain that they never tell us about? I don't know. I don't think the writers know either. And I also don't think they know anything about travel time. Look, it ultimately doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but it also kind of sort of does if you're someone that nitpicks that kind of stuff. Like, I know there's a whole thing of, like, neither of the Wonder Woman movies should have actually been able to happen due to travel time. So I'm just pointing it out. But it does still matter in the case of the inverse world bullshit in Superman and Lois Season 2. That's still stupid. There's the Alpha. Of course they are. Because China White's men waited to get the bioweapon when they had to have known that there was a tracker on it. So they waited for Oliver and Maceo. Based on the fact that China White's guys were on, like, a floor above where the lab was and shooting down at Oliver and Maceo, who were below, that had to have been an ambush, which means they had to have gotten there first. So there is no reason why the Triad should have waited for Oliver and Maceo, because they beat them there. That is dumb. Like, that's actually dumb.
The League conducts matter of significance, such as duels, on ground sacred to its beliefs. I went there.
Also, I just realized this now. There's got to be like hundreds of neutral sites or sacred grounds around the US alone. And Malcolm just so happened to know which one that they dueled at. That is incredibly convenient. And yes, these are little things in the episode, but they're starting to pile up.
It's Ra's custom to leave behind the instrument of death as a memorial to honor the fallen.
Honor the fallen. You know exactly what he did to Oliver.
Merlin, did you see Oliver's body?
He fell into a ravine. His remains are unrecoverable, I'm afraid.
Except by Maceo.
Then how do we know that's Oliver's blood?
Because after I leave, you'll test it. You'll exhaust yourself with conspiracy theories as to how I planted it or how it's all a lie.
This is your fault. Oliver went there because of you, because of what you did to Thea.
True.
You made her a target for the League so he would have to challenge Roz just to save her.
True.
You killed him.
I can understand why her brain went there.
And I will live with that guilt for the rest of my days.
Motherfucker, you don't care! Don't pretend you care, Malcolm! Any man willing to do to their daughter what Malcolm did to Thea is a fucking sociopath. You cannot convince me that Malcolm genuinely feels guilty for Oliver's death. Hell, he probably doesn't even feel guilty for the role that he played in Tommy's death in The Undertaking. And we all know that he doesn't feel guilty for doing that and killing 503 people. But see, here's where I kind of feel conflicted about this, because that line does feel like Season 1 Malcolm to me. I mean, it was always implied that Malcolm had this kind of special preference towards Oliver, you know, because he was his son's best friend, and that's the reason that he doesn't kill him when he finds out he's the vigilante and just imprisons him instead. It's not just because the plot says so, that's a character thing. But it's not Season 1 Malcolm saying this. It's Season 3 Malcolm saying this. And so I'm not sure whether I should say that this line is in character or not. Because it is in character for Season 1 Malcolm. But Season 3 Malcolm is a fucking sociopath bent on controlling the League of Assassins, so I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think? Is this in character for Malcolm? Is this not in character for Malcolm? Give me your opinion in the comments.
I orchestrated the matter to eliminate the death warrant Roz placed on my head. Oliver was that way. His death means my own.
Good.
Yeah, good. They shit all over this character, and I never want to see him again. Go on. Go ahead, Roz. Kill him. Kill him! See if I care. I really like this shot, how Felicity puts her hand up to the tip of the sword, and then we transition into Oliver's hand as his body's getting carried to Tatsu's shack.
Run for the exit. I'll cover you. You need to get the Alpha out of here.
I guess Oliver and Maseo don't technically know this, but it could be inferred that since Omega is useless without Alpha, that the same could be said in reverse. So why doesn't Oliver just destroy the vial? Why does he have to bring it back to Waller? Oh, right, silly me. Doing smart things like that would mean that the back half of the season doesn't have a plot.
Ooh, that's a nice shot. Nice. Shoot him in the leg at least, Ollie. Come on.
You had it. Why don't you take the shot?
To lead them to Chien Na Wei.
Which, just for the record, they could have done several different ways so far this season. This should not be a new development. China White should already be captured. Like, here's a question. Why the fuck wasn't there guards outside of Maseo and Tatsu's home? Are you telling me Waller's that much of a dick that she's not gonna have the home where one of her agents lives guarded in case of an assassination attempt? What the fuck?
I don't think I've ever actually seen you drink alone.
I don't think I've ever actually seen Roy drink.
Now, what's the point?
I keep asking myself the same question, Roy.
Then why do you keep going over the case evidence? Doing this without him while we're waiting for him to come back is one thing. But doing all this without him, that's a whole other situation.
What do you want me to tell you, Roy? I can only see 1 inch in front of me, and this is the only thing in front of me right now. I keep looking at this file, and I've seen this file somewhere. Bringing up the case numbers on all the guys who put away over the past 8 months. There's a pattern here. Assault with intent, murder, attempted murder.
Street enforcers. Muscle.
We got all these numbers on screen right here. And there's not a single 52. Thank God.
Your plan, it won't work. It won't bring her back. Anna. When someone dies, they're gone. So you have to stop. You have to stop because it's not what Anna would have wanted. It's...
You're upset. I can see that. And if you want, we can talk about it. But never tell me again what Anna would have wanted.
Oh, he's actually angry.
The blueprints we found, they're schematics for the warehouse where the police store all their physical evidence on active cases.
And Brick has a list of case numbers. We think he might be looking to steal or destroy evidence to get those cases thrown out of court. A lot of these cases are on guys who put away over the past 8 months. This is everything Oliver was working for.
I like that line. So it's kind of like this little arc that we've got over the next 3 episodes is like finishing that job that Oliver started at the beginning of the season. How long did you have to hold on to there while they were driving?
Also, I know it's a comic book show and I shouldn't think about it too hard, but actually trying to hold on to the underside of a vehicle while it is driving will kill you. If not the exhaust and the smoke coming from the car, there is no way that you could actually hold on to the bottom of a vehicle for that long. There's no way. There's no way.
Dude, they're doing a lot of these moving transitions this episode. Ooh, ooh, that shot was cool. Oh, oh, that shot's cool as hell. Okay, he's on wires, but that shot was cool as hell.
I'm out.
Use mine. So here's the deal. You take me down, you walk out alive. Smart man. Nobody thinks about going for a headshot.
John just shot him right here. We saw the... Does Brick have superpowers? Like, I'm talking, like, does Brick have Tombstone superpowers? Like, Spectacular Spider-Man, Invulnerable Skin, Tombstone superpowers? I'm gonna go check the Arrowverse wiki for this. Brick has an uncanny ability to survive being shot anywhere on his body actually giving his opponents one free shot before doing battle with them. While being shot in the head with a bullet does little to injure him, he can be hurt, albeit very temporarily, with an arrow to his torso. How he got this ability is unknown, likely some form of powerful drug. Brick appears to heal much faster from injury than normal people, as shown by how Diggle shot him in the head and his wound healed within a day. What the fuck? How did he get these powers? I mean, there's no explanation listed here. I know it's a comic book show and I shouldn't question it, but typically Arrow, or rather the Arrowverse, has like one example of, hey, this is, you know, they got their powers from this, even if it's in a throwaway line. Yeah, they just don't have that. Does Brick have these powers in the comics? Superhuman durability. Yeah. I'll give you one guess as to whether or not there's an explanation for how he gets his powers in the comics, by the way. Which means that we don't even have any comic history to base how he got his powers in this show off of. And so we now have to fall back on the only piece of information that we do have. Guggenheim's statement on his fucking Tumblr, where he said that Brick is just tough. I shouldn't need to explain why that explanation is stupid as fuck. The toughest characters on the show, the Mirakuru soldiers, are still vulnerable to bullets. Brick has basically bullet immunity. What the fuck? He is a Green Arrow villain, though, so respect for them actually using a Green Arrow villain on their Green Arrow show. Looks like he's black in the comics, though, whereas in this show, he is decidedly not.
I guess arrows work a little better on this guy than bullets.
Dude, you did not... And where did he go? So firstly, Roy did not see Dig shoot him. Secondly, where did he go? Villains escape from Team Arrow all the time. You know, at this point, it's just, the plot says so. Oh, that's a nice shot, though.
If that door hadn't shut, we would have had him.
You were pinned down. You both were. They were gonna kill you.
You did that? You let him get away.
I chose not to let anyone else I care about die.
We've been in tough spots before, and we've always managed to come out on the other side.
No, Oliver did.
There is no this without him.
I think that's being a little dramatic. I can understand where Felicity's coming from of not wanting to do this without Oliver, but at the same time, I can also understand where John and Roy are coming from of, this was Oliver's mission, but he's not here anymore, but he recruited all of us, so we should be able to do this now that he's gone. We should be able to do this without him. We should be able to carry on his mission. I think that they want to finish the job that Oliver started. And I think Felicity does too, but at the same time, she did just, you know, she didn't even get to say goodbye to Oliver. She doesn't want to do this without him. I can understand that.
I was out of line. I lost a friend of mine. And 3 months ago, another friend of mine died. I'm 25 years old. I'm over my quota where losing friends are concerned. So if you want to go out there, I can't stop you, but I don't have to help you.
These last two scenes are the first time in the episode where I actually feel like we matched the quality of Sarah, like the episode. Felicity is accepting some level of personal responsibility because she feels like by helping Oliver and Sarah, by being the girl in the chair, being Overwatch, that she was actually enabling them to continue hurting themselves and may have eventually led them to their respective deaths. And this actually wouldn't be the first time that Felicity feels like this, not even the first time in this season, because we see in The Secret Origin of Felicity Smoke, the same sort of thing happens to Cooper Selden. She's the one that builds the super virus, but Cooper is the one who ultimately, in the flashbacks, does what he does in prison, or, you know, fake dies. So Felicity is really introspecting here, and she believes that she's at fault for what's happening, or what happened to Oliver and Sarah, and she doesn't want that same thing to happen to Ray or her friends or anyone, and that's why she believes that the best thing to do is to step away from the team, because she doesn't want to be the enabler anymore. It's actually really good character writing. Why wasn't the rest of the episode more like this?
Oliver, he's not coming back.
Are you?
For the first time since I met Oliver Queen. I don't know what happens next. Still like to think of myself as Oliver's bodyguard.
I like that.
I just couldn't protect him.
Aww. Oh, there's the wig and the gloves. Sarah's mask. Oh, I forgot about the canary cries. Laurel, you're getting some really bad ideas.
We're in danger, Thea. We need to leave Starling City and never return.
And I'm the guy that made all the evidence against you go away. You are all part of my crew now. We are gonna take over the Glades.
You know, I would ask what's such a big deal about the Glades, but I don't think that even the writers have an answer to that. I can understand what the big deal was about the Glades for Malcolm, because he wanted to destroy it because his wife died there. As for why Brick wants to take him over, beats the fuck out of me. Maybe it's like an easy target because it's the low rent district and then he's working his way up to taking over all of Starling. But that motivation never gets established from what I recall. You know, I probably shouldn't think too much about it. Honestly, like, Brick's motivation doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But the reason that I'm being such a stickler about the why here is that we spend 3 episodes with this guy. Brick is an arc villain. And I don't get to learn a single thing about him. About his goals, his aspirations. The only thing that we do learn is that he murks Malcolm's wife in a flashback off screen. So it's like, I don't get to know anything about this guy. And again, the reason that's important is because he's an arc villain. This guy is like the interim Malcolm, the interim Slade. Fucking, considering like Sebastian Blood was kind of sort of Brick's role for season 2 as like the interim villain to get to Slade. So it was like, why did he get so much more development when Brick didn't? Because we just didn't have time to give him any depth, because this is only a 3-episode arc. That's why. That's why we get no, like, that's why we get no history for him. Like, he's got a lot of personality, obviously, because he's played by Vinnie Jones, but as for backstory, we get nothing. We get nothing about the dude. No depth, no nothing. What you see is what you get. They don't even explain how he gets his powers. We needed more time for this storyline so that we could learn that stuff, so that we could actually get attached to this villain. Oh, shit. Oh, shit! And this is the first time that we see Laurel in her Black Canary costume. It does not look like she's wearing Sarah's jacket, though. Yeah, even in the official pre-release posters for Laurel, they don't show her wearing Sarah's jacket. I guess it was more like a Sarah thing than a Laurel thing in this show. Her mask is a mite bigger than Sarah's, though. I don't know, like, don't get me wrong, okay? I'm good with Laurel now, alright? We worked our shit out, we're on good terms, but I still prefer Sarah as the canary of this show. I don't think that's something that I personally am ever gonna fully just, like, get over and move past. I don't know, it just feels like Laurel was, like, almost a complete... Well, I wouldn't say almost a complete non-entity in this episode, but, like, she barely had any focus in this episode, and then all of a sudden she just decides to become Black Canary. I just wish that Laurel had been more present in the episode.
You let one of Chen Nawei's men get away.
I hesitated. It was a mistake.
Now we have no one to interrogate.
But you have someone to follow back to Chen Nawei's base of operations? Is Waller stupid? I think that some of the smartest characters on this show just started taking stupid pills this season. First Malcolm, now Waller. Waller has a keyhole hexagon satellite aimed directly at Leon Yu so that she can see all of the shit going down on the Amazo and recruit Oliver for whatever reason. But that keyhole hexagon satellite can't be used to follow this dude back to Chen Na Wei's base? Waller, are you dumb?
I put the GPS from the vial in his pocket, and now he is going to lead us right to Tatsu.
Okay.
For the record, this is the dumbest fucking way that they could have possibly gotten a lead on China White's location. Because Oliver doesn't even have access to the servers that chip is linked to. So how the fuck are they supposed to track down China White? Are they just gonna go back to the Hong Kong military, who they just robbed, and assume that they're gonna tell them where? This is dumb as bricks, bro. This whole, like, this whole thing with China White and the flashbacks and tracking her down and Waller just being incompetent, all of this is dumb as bricks.
What you've done, I will be forever in your debt.
I will be forever in your debt, and he saves him from the mountain, so I guess this debt's covered. Hey, there's the brought the tattoo. And yep, here is Tatsu in the present day.
Now look, I get that they have to build her up first, but it's been 10 episodes, and they've done basically nothing with Katana. I get that they have to build her up to become Katana in the same way that they all had to build up Laurel becoming Black Canary, that they had to build up Rey becoming the Atom, but it always felt like they were doing stuff with Rey. It always felt like they were doing stuff with Laurel and again, also Laurel is an established character. Katana has had very sporadic appearances in the flashbacks, and even when she has been doing stuff, it's been like, she had the Cupid episode stuff with Oliver. That was good. I liked that because it was building up the rapport between the two of them more, but outside of that, she hasn't really done anything notable so far yet this season. And Katana is, like, despite being, like, a C-lister, I think, has generally, she's a character that people really like. And they haven't done anything with her this season. That's what it feels like. It feels like they haven't done anything with her this season. And I get that they have to build up to her becoming Katana, but you couldn't even give her, like, you couldn't give her some kind of subplot. You couldn't make time for her to do something in the flashbacks. You couldn't keep her around in the present day for longer than 3 episodes. You couldn't do anything with her. I get that this season is really packed with ideas, but Jesus, I'm just surprised that we're 10 episodes in and they've done like one thing with Katana in 1 episode. How? How did we get here? Katana fans got it bad, man. First time we see the character in live action, she doesn't really do much, and then the next time we see her in live action is in David Ayer's Suicide Squad. I hope that James Gunn does something with her. We got to spend 3 episodes on this arc about Brick, and we're still doing nothing with Katana, man.
I asked her to come here so she could bring you back to life.
Okay, it is in this episode where they have that so that she can bring you back to life line. I already explained this, but again, it's more just to say that Oliver was, like, on the brink of death, is my interpretation. So he wasn't actually dead. She wasn't bringing him back from the dead because his soul never left his body. He was barely alive after getting stabbed through the chest and falling off a mountain. Oliver can never almost die on this show ever fucking again. The fact that I don't think this was done on purpose notwithstanding, I really don't think they did enough with Oliver's death. Felicity is really the only one who has a reaction to it happening, when you'd think that this would be a major event for Oliver's brother-in-arms, his pupil, and his ex-girlfriend turned quasi-best friend. And it doesn't help that this episode is setting up an arc villain instead of just a villain of the week like in Sarah, so there's not as much time to focus on the main characters here. Since we've already had one episode this season where a major character dies and we grieve their loss, this episode doesn't just feel repetitive, but it also feels like a watered-down version of a much better episode from earlier in the same season. I don't think the writers intended that to be the case, but out of this episode and Sarah, the latter is easily the better made of the two on all accounts. Although considering Felicity didn't actually believe Oliver was dead until near the end of the episode, why was she trying to get Ray to give up on being the Atom earlier in the episode? She hasn't been given a concrete reason to do that in the show yet, so that doesn't make much sense. Laurel got basically no focus during this episode, and because of that, her suiting up as Black Canary really comes out of left field here. Sure, it's something they'd been building up to all season, but as for this specific episode, it just seems like it was just thrown in there at the end. The writers just needed to truncate this arc so much that we really didn't get any exploration of Laurel truly stepping up and becoming the city's new face of heroism here. On the flashback side of things, I genuinely want to know whether Amanda Waller is stupid or is just an unbridled piece of work. Why on God's green earth hasn't she used any of the numerous methods of tracking that she has available to her as the director of Argus, who has a keyhole hexagon satellite that she used to find Oliver on Leon U to find China White? This seems like something that should have been resolved several episodes ago. Also, how the fuck did Britt get his powers? I know it's a comic book show, but Arrow's kind of been afraid to embrace how comic booky it can really be for the most part. So just introducing people with superpowers on this show with no explanation is pretty bizarre. This episode has to simultaneously cover the death of Oliver Queen, a whole arc villain in Brick, Malcolm apparently getting some of his Season 1 characterization and thus humanity back, Laurel becoming Black Canary, Ray becoming the Atom, the breakup of Team Arrow, and the resurrection of Oliver Queen, all in 42 minutes. It's no wonder that this episode's a mess. We didn't even get to grieve Oliver for a whole episode before they brought him back. That all said, I do still like a lot of the ideas presented in this episode. I just wish they were executed better. Malcolm is now officially the most inconsistently written character on the show. Like, in the immediately previous episode, he's using Thea as a tool to manipulate Oliver into clearing his blood debt, and in this episode, he's actually sorrowful for Oliver's death that he had to have known was inevitable. Otherwise, he's fucking stupid. He sent Oliver Queen to fight Ra's al Ghul and didn't expect Oliver to fucking die? Like, dude, you're dumb. Anyway, but then, by the end of this episode, he's reverted to only caring about the blood debt and tells Thea that they need to get the heck out of Dodge. So, the guy's not even consistent from scene to scene at this point. You could probably justify him feeling sorrowful about Oliver's death as him feeling sorrowful about the fact that Oliver didn't kill Roz, and therefore that means that he's gonna die, but that's not how the episode plays it. As much as I personally would have liked for Laurel to have more of a reaction to Oliver's death, I do feel like it makes sense that she didn't get that. Since 1, she's already grieving Sarah still, and 2, she already mourned Oliver's death back in Season 1. I just wish her making the choice to finally become Black Canary was expanded upon more. They'd been building up to her putting on that suit all season, but in the big pivotal episode where it happens, it just feels like an afterthought. It's just kind of awkwardly shoved into the ending with no build-up. I get that everyone was feeling hopeless and so the city needed a new flagship hero, but that didn't feel like Laurel was organically making that decision. It felt like the writers were just checking off that box. I do like Felicity in this episode, though. It took a bit for me to get there, but I like how her actions are dictated by the fear of causing someone else she cares about to die, and how that's compounded by both Sarah and now Oliver's deaths as well. If your name's not Felicity, though, you don't get much of a reaction to Oliver's death. Dig gets a little something when he's talking to Laurel at the end of the episode, but Roy gets absolutely nothing in what should be one of the series' biggest deaths. I already touched on this in the intro, but the writers knowing they were going to bring Oliver back probably impacted the character's reactions to Oliver's death here. If you're going to bring the character back anyway, why bother mourning his loss? Also, small thing, I really wish they would do something with Tatsu. She's done fuck all so far this season, and this is Katana. She is a decently big character. People know about this character. People like this character, and she's getting a lot less focus than her husband that I thought was an original character created for this show. I'm not really sure whether to give this episode the highest 2 of the series so far or the lowest 3 of the series so far, but I could honestly go either way here. No, I'm going with a 2. Fuck it. Regardless of any issues I had from a writing standpoint, I think Glenn Winter showed once again why he's a reliable director for this show. I mean, the man just has a way of spotlighting cool shots that I really like. I think Vinnie Jones was well cast in the role of Brick. He's got a unique voice and a lot of personality, so he's just really great in pretty much anything. Overall, I'd say that visually the episode was above average. There were, however, a few too many shootout scenes where the fights are concerned. Like, I know that the punchy stuff had to be toned down a bit due to a lack of Oliver Queen, but still, we should have gotten something. Just gonna give a hot take here, shootouts aren't suspenseful. It's just, oh, look at one character, gun, gun, back up, cut to another character, gun, gun, or both characters, gun, gun at the same time. It's lame. They're lame. I don't like them. This is a must-watch episode during the season. Too many plot-relevant things happen here for you to skip it or to give you the spark notes. This episode is really just lacking in everything that I liked about the first half of the season. As an episode, I'm just not really feeling this one. As an intro to the Brick arc, it exists. As an episode dealing with the fallout of Oliver's death, it exists. I really wanted to just do this episode as a oneer and then the other 2 as quick reviews, but I didn't actually get that much to work with here. Maybe the next episode will give me more to chew on. Wendy Miracle and Ben Sokolowski team up to pen Midnight City, which first aired January 28th, 2015, and was directed by Nick Kopus, his final contribution to the series. Brick executes the next step of his plan to take over the Glades, as Laurel and a broken Team Arrow play catch-up. Meanwhile, Oliver recovers from his injuries and attempts to sway Maseo to his side.
I don't worry that you can beat him. I am terrified you won't kill him. That's not who you are anymore.
Opening the episode with a dream sequence. Although some of the dialogue did end up being slightly different, but you could chalk that up to this being a dream sequence.
You're right. I'll stay.
Are you sure?
I'm sure of one thing. I love you.
Oh. Because he said 2 things now, this time he says 1 thing. Ooh. And it's Oliver having the nightmare. I thought it was Felicity. It's a bit blurry, but we've got the Bratva tattoo here. Don't get a good enough view of his shoulder to see if they put the Shadows Dragon tattoo on him here, though.
You saved my life.
The snowing cold helped. And your will to live.
So that right there, whether that's satisfying for you personally or not, that's the in-universe explanation for how Oliver survived. Is the cold helped ice his body over, and he had an incredible will to not fucking die on that mountain. If you go to the final battle of the season, you see that Roz actually comments on Oliver's will to live.
Something has changed within you, boy. Your will to live burns brighter, and yet you rejected my offer of eternal life. What you were offering wasn't living.
Look, I agree. Oliver should be fucking dead, okay? I agree. But it's comics, will to live, plus the cold. I'm gonna let him have it. If you search up Indomitable Will on the Superpowers wiki, you can actually see that Oliver Queen is listed close to the top of the live television section. And Indomitable Will is what it would have taken to survive that fall. Again, it's comics. No one ever stays dead except for Uncle Ben, and even then, in some universes, he's alive. So I'm not even going to defend this writing decision. Again, Oliver, by all stretches of the imagination, even if he is peak human, he's just a guy. He should absolutely be dead. And I absolutely will use this Anytime the show puts him in mortal peril, I'll just be like, Oliver fell off a mountain. He's gonna be fine. But yeah, I'm fine with it. Let's not think about it too hard. Let's just move on. It's ultimately not super important how Oliver survives. What's important is that he does survive for the sake of his character. Not for the sake of his character living, for the sake of his character growing and developing. I'm just realizing I haven't updated the graphic in the corner of my screen. I'm gonna do that real quick. It still says from the last episode. There we go. Updated. I'll probably fix it in editing, but I do want you guys to see me fix it because I think it's funny. Neither of those punches landed. I'm sorry. This dude even reacts late to the second one, dude. See here, still showing Laurel's inexperience at the whole superhero thing. See, just goes to show you, it's not just, oh, anyone can take a couple boxing classes and suddenly they can fight Malcolm Merlyn. No, Laurel struggled fighting one guy with a knife and a gun. She still needs training. She still needs discipline, which, for the record, is exactly how it's supposed to be written and how it used to be written. Characters used to need to train. They used to need experience. And in the last couple of years, it's been like, training and experience be damned, everyone's just a badass now. You need to train, you need experience, and Laurel is still inexperienced. Again, despite taking boxing classes with Ted Grant, that ain't gonna cover shit when she's actually out in the streets.
Oliver, he's gone now. The Canary sends the same message. They fear her.
No, Laurel. They fear your sister.
She's not here anymore.
No one needs to remind Laurel of that, John. I was late because I had a comment. I'm not gonna rewind it this time. I've already done that once this episode.
Are we cool? It just seems like you've been avoiding me, you know, ever since we had that moment.
As she should. In fact, she should have called the cops on your ass. Because what you did, is sexual assault.
I went by your apartment to see how your packing is going, only to discover that it's not. Thought I made it clear that leaving was not optional.
No, actually, you didn't make anything clear.
Get in the car, Thea.
Not until you tell me the truth.
You're not ready for the truth.
You can't handle the truth! Something about Starling, though, makes Thea actually want to stand up to Malcolm, it seems. That and the shock of Oliver being missing is finally getting to her, too. Back in Corto Maltese, Thea was very obviously, like, she was obedient, and she was like that for a little while at the beginning of when she came back to Starling, too, but now, with Oliver missing, she's coming back to her senses a bit, which is good. Thea's getting her agency as a character back.
A criminal organization headed by Danny Brickwell has been on a crime spree unlike anything since Al Capone.
Why aren't you arresting him?
We sent in an ESU team to do just that. Most of those men are in the hospital now.
They sent in a riot squad and Brick took them all out? Jesus Christ.
Bring her and the alderman.
Did she get him with, like, the bottom of her heel?
Yeah, what about the alderman?
Brick's got him.
Action scenes in this episode so far are not good. Maceo, you can't sit out there.
We can't let him go back to the League.
Maybe we could have changed Masao's mind, but not his, not Sarab's.
Sarab is just a name that Ra's al Ghul calls him.
I mean, Maceo is indeed conscious enough in there to have willingly saved Oliver's life and do all the other stuff, like telling him Ra's al Ghul is not known to be merciful, but if there was a chance for you to ask for mercy, this would be your final moment for it. He was conscious enough to be like, I don't want to watch you die, Oliver, all of this stuff, you know? But of course, Tatsu still sees him for what happened in the aftermath of the flashback stuff, so she's not really seeing him as her husband anymore. She's seeing him as what he became. It is interesting, though, that she legitimately does not think that there's any part of her husband still in there, you know? She's not holding out any hope that her husband is still in there. It's sad. What happened to poor Tatsu to jade her like this? Actually, I can answer that. She held her son's lifeless body in her hands and then watched her husband murder a man, all in the span of like 30 seconds. Yeah, that would jade anyone.
Masao blames himself for what happened. The line between grief and guilt is a thin one. Sometimes death is preferable to the agony of life.
Oh, that's a hard line, dude. They're talking a lot about death this season.
Tracker's in there.
So we really are just gonna sidestep the whole that tracker doesn't belong to Argus and Oliver would have to go to the Hong Kong military that they just robbed in order to get the information of that tracker for thing, right? Okay, just wanted to make sure. Gonna dock some plot points for that, because that's dumb!
This club is a triad front. I told you it would be heavily guarded.
Maybe you shouldn't have been saying about how the club is a front in front of the fucking staff. Always good to see Kelly Hu back playing China White on Arrow, though. And it's cool that we get to see her be like an actual big threat on this show now, too, due to the flashbacks. Every time that we've seen her before, she was just kind of like a mercenary, or like she was the leader of the triad, but like, again, mostly just as like a one-off villain. So seeing her actually take on a pseudo main villain role, I do like it.
Did you bring the item?
I want to see my wife. Once I know she's alive, then you can have the Alpha.
So I guess that's why Oliver didn't just destroy the vial, because the plot didn't say that he could. Although I'm willing to bet that Oliver probably thought that it would make a good bargaining chip for China White, and considering, again, he put the tracker in the dude's jacket, this was probably part of his plan, so I'm actually gonna let them have this one.
So nobody in a green hood showed up to save the day?
That's because he's gone.
Well, that doesn't make any sense, but the hour's gone, but Sarah's back. She's been taking on Brick's men solo.
What made you decide to start working for Brick?
I'm not telling you anything.
You sure about that? I still have another heel.
For legal reasons, that's a joke.
Why would you murder Julio Salazar?
Head of Los Halcones? I had nothing to do with him getting popped.
Well, that's not what your file says.
What kind of game is this? You just wrote that down.
Actually, I can charge you with whatever crime that I want. Bell Rev, it's a lot more comfortable than Iron Heights.
Bell Revs is where the Los Halcones are locked up. If they think I off Salazar, I won't last 2 seconds in there.
Tell me where I can find Danny Brickwell, and you won't have to.
I'll tell you where you can find Brick.
So we agree, Laurel just super overreached in like a legal sense, right? I get that she had to do this because she's a vigilante. She's trying to get this information to Team Arrow. From a legal standpoint, what charges can be filed against Laurel for blackmail and falsifying evidence? Just curious. I'm only gonna dock points for the plot like a little bit on this.
When I started the Adam Project, it was all about avenging Anna. But what it's become about is protecting the people I care for.
Exactly like Oliver. It started out as making up for his father's sins, crossing the names off the list, and then it became about being better, doing better, inspiring, and protecting the people he cared about. Exactly like Ray. They're just kind of fast-tracking it, abridging it a little bit. I'm noticing the parallel they're trying to put in there.
Protecting the people I care for.
You mean the city?
I mean you.
Nope, it's still weird!
We put their location through Felicity's surveillance program, but Brick keeps moving them.
Laura, monitor us from here. Talk me and Roy in.
That's not how this is gonna work.
Laura, you're not your sister.
You think I don't know that? You lost a brother. If there's anyone who I thought would understand, it'd be you.
That's fair. Oh, that's a cool shot. John's looking at him. He's looking at the camera. Explosive arrowhead on Roy's arrow here is green. I thought it was an error when it happened in The Brave and the Bold, but it seems like the error might have been Secret Origin of Felicity Smoke when he had the red explosive arrowhead. Because we've now seen this one twice, where we've only seen that one once, and only in a shot where you could only see it for 1 second. There's actually a little bit of emphasis put on this, where I can actually pause it and see. She's still inexperienced, can't stick the landing. Dude, why does Brick even need a gun? Man's bulletproof.
Lucky for you, I don't like hitting women.
I'm sorry, did they just give this man a moral? Wait, so we have a villain with a code on our hands here. Wait, I like them. Wait, I don't want to like Brick. Wait, no! I really like villains with codes because it shows that even though they're bad people, there are lines that they won't cross. Like, Captain Cold and, like, the Rogues are a good example of that in the comics, how they have a very strict no-killing policy, and if you do kill someone, then you get kicked out of the group, and you kind of get, like, you get shamed by the rest of the Rogues if you kill someone.
And this line here, it seems like they're kind of making Brick sort of like that, where he's clearly still a bad person, but he doesn't hit women, which that's inherent. That's cool, right? It adds a level of moral complexity and moral depth to the character, and it doesn't just make him, oh, the big bad guy that just does big bad things, you know? And so I really like villains like that. You don't have to give a villain a sad-ass backstory to make them interesting. It's a simple thing like this, like having one thing that they won't do. That's cool. Another villain like that is actually Tobias Whale from the Black Lightning show. He has a very strict no mama rule. He doesn't kill mothers. It's never explained why in the show, and he's clearly still a fucking, like, a really, really shitty person. But he has that strict rule, and honestly, in that sense, it actually just makes him more menacing, because it shows you that he is essentially evil. But it's like he's in control of his evil. So, like, there is a line that he doesn't cross, but there are so many lines that he will, and it makes him even more threatening and terrifying. I also don't know if it's ever said in universe, but I'm fairly sure I googled that Tobias Whale, the character's birthday, is April 20th, so do with that information what you will. This man is basically the devil on Black Lightning, but he has a rule that he doesn't kill people's moms, and so it makes him seem that much more evil, because he's completely sane and in control of his own actions. I really like villains with codes. There's so many different ways you could take them, and they're just really cool.
This one's on you!
Your sister did her best. Did she ever talk to you?
She hasn't, not yet.
Madam Mayor, there's a coffee in line 1. It's Danny Brickwell.
How is your evening going, Madam Mayor?
Look, you have demands to make, just get on with it.
I would have parlayed with you.
That isn't what we're doing right now.
In person.
You came to frickin' City Hall, shot the place up. Your time for parlay passed, Danny.
I don't want to lose you, Thea.
Who are we running from?
His name is Ra's al Ghul.
And why does he want to kill you?
Ra's has a particular code of honor he feels I violated, and he's marked me and my family for death.
I mean, yes and no. He has marked Thea for death, but not for the reason Malcolm's saying here.
You're all I have left, Thea. Keeping you safe is all that matters. Please let me.
See, I want to believe that, but the only reason I want to believe that is because I remember how well that this character used to be written. See here, these are shades of season 1 Malcolm showing, but I don't think I can trust this because, again, this man groomed his own daughter and then mind-controlled her to kill her friend. Also that he could win a dick measuring contest with Ra's al Ghul. A dick measuring contest that he was never going to win. And I still want to believe this because I want to believe that Malcolm is still this incredibly well-written and nuanced villain. But I can't trust that. I can't trust that after what they did to him this season. This, to me, feels like the Arrow writers are trying to have their cake and eat it too with Malcolm. They're trying to make him be this, like, master manipulator working behind the scenes, trying to outsmart and play everyone. But they're also still having him try to be that season 1 Malcolm, but it's not working now because they've added another layer onto this. A layer of Malcolm just being a shitty person, and arguably a sociopath. And the fact that I want to believe Malcolm right now just proves that the sociopathy is kind of working.
Guess you came here to talk some sense into me. Not sure you're gonna have to bother. Brick, he killed someone tonight in front of me.
And see, Felicity can relate to that because of the stuff that happened in Salvation, where Felicity wasn't fast enough. She wasn't able to find Joseph Fox's location, and he ended up killing that guy. And now Laurel is having the same sort of problem, where Laurel wasn't strong enough, her best wasn't enough, and she ended up having to watch someone die for it. So now, see, Felicity is going to take on the role that Oliver took on for her, of if you ever need to tell someone about your day, you can tell me. And she can now reinforce Laurel in the same way that Oliver reinforced her.
At least I hope that's the direction that they're going with this. Knowing how truncated this arc has to be, I don't think they're going to be able to explore that.
I'm not gonna be putting on that mask again. I'm not strong enough to fight for Sarah. Maybe it's not about Sarah, or Oliver, or anyone else that we care about who we've lost. Maybe what we've been doing it because there are people we care about that are still alive.
So yeah, no, they're not doing the salvation thing, but they're having Felicity, instead of relaying the teachings that Oliver had given to her and that reinforcement that Oliver had given to her, they're having her relay that message that Ray gave to her instead. That it's not so much about the people that we've lost, it's about the people that we've got left, and we should fight for them because they're here. I really wish that they would have called back to salvation here, because they were totally setting up that moment conceptually, right? That's such a big missed opportunity, because Salvation was such a good episode, man!
He's confident. Meeting out here in the open where any police sniper could take him out.
He's bulletproof. Fucker's bulletproof.
I've still got 2 of your men. If you want them back, it's simple. Get out of the glades. Especially the police, evacuate.
And they couldn't have made this negotiation with them all in the office at gunpoint because... Look, we've still got a lot of this arc to cover in an episode and a half, and we've spent half of this episode doing not that well. I mean, not nothing. All right, we're contributing to Laurel's arc and her becoming the Black Canary, so fair enough. I'll give them a little leeway on that. But still, if Brick wanted to make this demand, he could have done it at the top of the episode. And so the only reason that he didn't was because the plot didn't say that he could.
I suggest you move your sweet ass.
I'm gonna use that soundbite. That's funny as hell.
You don't have to leave. You can still have a life.
I love you, no matter who you think you become.
Just the blank expression on his face is funny, though. Oh, there's League men here. So Roz sent men to collect Oliver's corpse, and when it wasn't on the mountain, they came to the shack. Oh, Tatsu gets to use the sword. Let's go. Oh!
This concludes our business.
If the serum is genuine,
It's genuine.
then you should have no problem with me testing it. It's a fake.
Oh, I see. It was a ruse the whole time. They wanted to get captured to get Tatsu back. So this part of this chase sequence here is really weird. So you can see if my frickin' thing would go. Okay, it's not gonna go. Okay, is it gonna go now? There we go. So you can see Tatsu goes up to this platter of food, grabs this knife, and tosses it at this guy, right? But this shot, like, watch how quickly this shot goes by. It is a blink and you miss it shot. So it probably would have been cleaner to just cut it entirely. Oh, it is a slightly, like, it is slightly more zoomed in. So clearly these are 2 different takes. But still, like, you're not gonna know. Are you gonna notice? Some people, if you have an eye for cuts like this, you might notice. You might notice that they cut here a little bit. But still, it's got to be better than this, where they just cut off of her for, like, not even a second. Just a literally blink and you miss it. It's got to be better than that. They don't give you enough time to actually see what she's grabbing to throw at the guys, so the shot is pointless. And also, might cause some people some vision problems just having that quick flash, especially in a scene like in this club where there's already lights flashing everywhere. So I don't see the point of that one little shot. Is it something that's going to make or break the episode? No, I just thought it was weird. Oh, is it the Russian vodka? Yeah, it is!
Sometimes me and Oliver would come down here after tough nights. He would pour this, look up, and say, Prochnost.
Prochnost.
What does that mean? I have no earthly idea.
Just for the record, during Season 2, Episode 6, John absolutely had the opportunity to interpret what Prochnost meant when Oliver and Anatoly had that toast.
Prochnost. Strength.
But the episode's been pretty dour so far, and this is a pretty easy way to make a joke, so
I'm good with them adding a little bit of levity here in just this small moment.
I was wrong when I said Oliver's mission was over, because it's not just Oliver's mission anymore, it is ours.
Fuck yeah!
First, to find out where those aldermen are.
Hi, Daddy.
Sheriff, why didn't you call me sooner, honey?
It's complicated.
How are you doing this?
I fed recordings of Sarah's voice through a symbolic algorithm.
That's actually Katie Lotz's voice.
I need you to tell me everything you know about the hostages.
I just found out one of them's got a heart condition. If his pacemaker isn't recharged soon, we're gonna lose another role.
You can track a pacemaker.
Be careful out there, okay? Because I don't know what I'd do if anything happened to you. I love you, sweetheart.
I love you too, Daddy.
Oh no. This doesn't feel right. Like from a moral standpoint, I don't like this. This is orders and leaps and bounds and magnitudes different than what was already happening. And I know it's hard for Laurel too, and I don't want to vilify her for it. I'm just saying this is icky. It doesn't feel good.
I need the keys to your helicopter.
How would you even fly it?
I got that covered.
Hey, so remember when I told you guys to keep Ray's helicopter in mind?
So sorry, I am late. Traffic was terrible, which is why I took my helicopter. I parked on your roof. I hope that's okay.
If you can believe it, Ray's helicopter is a semi-important plot point later on in the season. Yeah, this is that moment.
I will not crash it.
Gotta be honest, I'd feel a little more confident in your aeronautic abilities if you knew, for instance, that helicopters don't actually have keys.
They don't have keys.
I'm gonna hold you to the no crash promise.
I love Brandon Routh, dude. See, Laurel's still getting her ass kicked. That shot was kind of cool, though. Oh, okay, conceptually, this shot's actually really cool. I just wish that it was actually lit enough for me to see what was going on. Let's go, Laurel.
I guess we're even now.
Oh, does she have a voice modifier now?
I guess we're even now.
Oh, that does not sound good. It sounds like my voice, since I'm sick. I know you guys are going to be able to hear it in at least part of the edits for the last episode. Probably all of me watching this episode, because I'm still sick. It sounds like Katie Cassidy got a cold, and then they deepened her voice while she had a cold. It does not sound good. It's not like when Oliver has his voice modifier, or Sarah used a voice modifier like once or twice, I think, but even Sarah's sounded a lot better than that, man.
Because I know you'd do anything to save the life of an innocent man. You can be my eyes and ears in the glades. That's how you can save the city.
No, but I'm friends with them. Sisters can be like that. You should meet mine. I guess we're even now.
And like it's one line, so it seems to just cut right out, but the fact that it's one line, the fact that they did it, you know, is that's kind of what makes it stand out.
We're gonna get you out of here.
I think it was just that one line. It's a little bit better now.
I'm gonna need you to find me a way out of here.
I still don't like hitting women. I could make an exception for you.
No more morals. Okay, I can hate him again now. Ooh, wait, the audio's only playing in one headphone. Still only in one headphone. Oh, come, Laurel, you should have been looking for a way out. You should not have tried that. Okay, so, wait, so this... Let me get this straight here. His skull can take a bullet, but he can't take a kick to the nuts. I swear to God, they're just making up the rules with Brick as they go along. Oh, that was a cool shot, though. That's a cool shot.
You say, oh, I get you wanting to go back before, but you could just come back to Sterling City with me.
I wish I could speak that language so that I knew what she said. God damn it! Tried to cheat the system, look what happens. If someone could tell me in the comments what she's saying in this moment, that'd be awesome. Until that happens, though, I'm just gonna assume she's saying, like, I love you or something like that, or please stay or something like that, you know? Wait, I missed a 52? So I went to check the Arrowverse wiki to see if it would say what Tatsu said, and I missed a 52. I need to go back, I need to check this.
Look, you have demands to make, just get on with it.
Julius Caesar, Act 5, Scene 2.
See, on the Arrowverse wiki, it says that it's a goof because the Brick says that the line comes from Act 5, Scene 2, but it actually comes from Act 5, Scene 1. But you know why they said Act 5, Scene 2. That's not a goof. That's a 52. Though in my defense, this episode wasn't very good and I was not very engaged in it, so I hope you can understand me missing this one. Fucking Christ, man. I see this number so often in my daily life now. I swear to God. Like, I look at, like, how much time is left on a timer. 52 seconds. I check the clock. Oh, guess what time it is? Something 52 or 5:20 or something. Fucking Christ, dude. I am so over this shit. This number has cursed my vision infinitely forever. Thanks, CW.
If you're gonna bluff with a fake virus sample, let me in on it.
Oh, they weren't planning.
I wasn't bluffing.
What does that mean?
That Amanda Waller knew I would try something like this. She must have switched out the vial before I took it.
That makes sense.
There's nothing I wouldn't do for my family.
Just like Moira. He'd do anything for his family.
You saved my life.
Now Tatsu saved Oliver's life. I don't like this. This scene here, I don't like this.
Mare Castle caved. She's pulling SCPD out the glades.
But why? Brick doesn't have the alderman anymore.
But what he does have is a home address of every city council member and their family, and that means to hurt him.
Lovely.
How about we cry over each other's shoulders over dinner? We're at the Chinese place you love.
I can't. I'm sorry.
What's going on with you, sweetheart? Why are you trying to avoid me?
I'll explain everything. Just not tonight.
No, that's icky. I don't like that.
You told me that we were in danger. What you didn't tell me is why.
Because Ra's al Ghul wants us dead.
That's pretty much the case anywhere we go.
That's fair.
7 months ago, I asked you to teach me how to not be afraid and how to not get hurt. So why are you asking me to be afraid now?
I am not asking you. I am telling you.
That's a good response.
I'm not afraid of this man, and you shouldn't be either.
No, you should be, Thea. You should be very afraid of Roz.
Then we'll stay.
This is the most pointless subplot in this episode, dude. I'm over it.
Your helicopter is back on the roof. It actually had keys. The reason you couldn't get the nanite chip to function is because what you actually need is a quantum processor.
Thought you were gonna help me on my suicide mission.
With my help, you might not end up dead.
And she's no longer blaming herself for what happened to Oliver and Sarah.
Well, I heard a rumor you were leaving town.
Happy to say that those rumors are false.
Merlin Lanya Khadir Starling.
Sabligu. Reishagul.
Well, in some ways, this episode was better than the last one. And in other ways, it was worse. The entire first half of the episode is basically completely pointless. If Brick had, used his brain, he would have known to just hold everyone in City Hall at gunpoint and make Mayor Castle make the call to get the police out of the glades then and there. Considering that we absolutely should have more of this arc to cover, it's genuinely baffling that we didn't spend most of the episode contained in that one room with the characters at gunpoint. Hell, we could have even gotten the same character moment for Laurel where she had to watch someone die and live with that guilt. Though, I guess it would mean that the ending needs restructuring, but hey, the episode probably could have done with that. This subplot with Malcolm and Thea literally just exists to eat up time in this episode. And it could have easily been used on much better things like building up Laurel's character, giving Tatsu something to do because they still haven't done that, giving Roy and Dig some more screen time, literally anything. And that is literally everything that happens in the plot of the episode. This one is incredibly simple, probably to its detriment, and by itself this definitely would have been an episode much better suited for a quick review than a full breakdown. I really don't like Laurel posing as Sarah. I think it opens up a big moral can of worms that's a lot ickier than just not telling Quentin what happened. But what I do like about Laurel in this episode is that it continues to show her inexperience as a vigilante. She loses multiple fights in the episode and needs help from the more experienced members of Team Arrow several times. It's weird that I'm giving the writers credit for doing the bare fucking minimum and treating Laurel as if she actually needed to be trained, but there's been so many examples of new superheroes needing no training to master their powers anymore, with the MCU's She-Hulk being the most notable example. Our standards have been lowered so much that just giving us the bare fucking minimum makes something a masterpiece. I don't like it. I don't like that this is the direction storytelling has gone, alright? I don't like how much our standards have been lowered, that doing the bare fucking minimum is worthy of praise. Everyone else was written about average here, despite a few missed opportunities to call back to older and better episodes. There were a few cool shots here and there in the episode, but overall it was below average, especially when it came to the fight scenes. Without Oliver and Sarah, the quality of the fights have gone down significantly these past 2 episodes. The big takeaways from this episode are that Team Arrow gets back together despite only being broken up for 1 episode because of how rushed this arc is, and that Laurel could still use some training but is officially taking on the role of the Black Canary now. Some subplots get pushed outside of that, but you could easily skip this one and not miss much, which is not a good thing, because this is the midpoint of an arc. That's not normal. This is essentially this arc's episode of The Odyssey or The Promise, and it does not feel like it because there is, like, no substance here. And in terms of entertainment, this episode was fine. It was fine. Damn, I only gave this episode an 11 out of 25? That seems a little harsh. It also doesn't bode well for this finale, so let's stop stalling and get into it. On February 4th, 2015, we concluded the Brick arc with Uprising, written by Beth Schwartz and Brian Ford Sullivan, and directed by Jesse Warren. With the Glades having been turned into a war zone, Team Arrow regroups with all of Starling City in an attempt to bring down Brick's regime. Meanwhile, Malcolm finds out Brick killed his wife and vows to kill him out of vengeance, forcing Team Arrow into a war on 2 fronts as they attempt to stop both Brick and Malcolm.
I suppose you plan to leave without telling me.
I can't stay here any longer. If you were so concerned, just come with me.
Yeah, Tatsu, come to Starling.
Be well, Oliver.
I do wish we got more of Tatsu in the present day. Is this the intro? I was confused as to whether that was actually the intro or not. They typically, like with these last couple episodes, they've been waiting a little bit.
Looks like we got ourselves a real-life superhero here. You that red streak I've been reading about on TV?
Wrong city.
Hey. Good reference. Hey, Laurel!
Grant must be some teacher.
Hey, they talked about Ted Grant. I know he shows up in this episode. It's still a little surprising. Because we haven't mentioned him for since episode 6. Hey, Sin, well, I was gonna say Cindy, but she goes by Sin, and then, never mind. Moments passed.
Sarah?
Oh, right. I remember why she's here now.
How can I help?
I thought the mayor was pretty specific about Blue staying out of the Glades.
It doesn't mean I can't help out the Hood Squad off the books.
We call ourselves Team Arrow. Well, actually, that's just me, but...
I'm pretty sure that's the only time in canon that one of the teams is referred to as Team Arrow, Team Flash, Team Black Lightning, etc., etc. Like, I know that the Legends refer to themselves as the Legends, because that's what Rip Hunter referred to them as. And I know that Supergirl refers to her team as the Super Friends, but as for it being like a Team Arrow, Team Flash, Team insert character show name here, I think that's the one and only time that they're ever referred to by that name. And I don't think Team Flash gets referred to as Team Flash ever.
I just got everything we have on Brick from evidence lockup.
So in Left Behind, Brick's whole plan was to get all the evidence from police lockup for all of the muscle that he wanted to hire for his takeover of the Glades. So he got all of that and didn't get the evidence that the police had on him. If you say so, writers. Still doing the sword fighting thing in the apartment. Ooh! Ooh! Wait, this is cool! Oh, that's a stunt person. And that's some wire work.
Hesitation is death.
I didn't hesitate. I just didn't kill you.
And when the fight is real,
I'm not a killer.
then you're gonna die.
I didn't sign up for any of this.
Yes, you did! Last episode, when you told Malcolm to stay, you signed up for this, Thea!
I wasn't always a killer. First time, I have never been more frightened or remorseful.
Then why did you do it?
Because the man I killed murdered my wife.
21 years ago, and we're getting some flashbacks to young Malcolm.
Tommy, buddy, I won't let anything bad ever happen to you.
Promise?
Promise. I will always be here for you. Hey, what? What? Wow.
Just for the record, that one magic trick that he does right there is why he is called the Magician. Oh.
Captain Lance.
Hey, even Roy's got a voice mod now. And it still sounds better than Laurel's did.
Harper.
I'm not sure what you...
Look, I seen you wearing a red hoodie. I seen you shooting arrows at people. You think I don't recognize you with a little extra leather and lace?
I guess I won't be needing this anymore.
So I am counting this on the identity reveal counter because Roy is the one to confirm Quentin's suspicion that he's Arsenal. Roy did not need to say, guess I don't need this anymore. He didn't need to say anything of the sort. All he needed to say was, what you got for me? Miss Smoke sent me. But he chose to confirm his identity, so it is an identity reveal. But if you disagree with me on that, feel free to debate it in the comments. This is that knife wound that Laurel got in Midnight City. During the opening scene, Thug cut her on that arm. Also, what the fuck is this that's behind Laurel here? What am I looking at here? What I can tell you that I'm looking at over here is a fern.
Cross-reference with Alderman Ford's murder and the evidence your father gave us. The same gun was used at a 21-year-old shooting.
Wait, Malcolm put a fucking camera there?
Daniel Brickwell killed Malcolm Merlin's wife.
So this whole time, Malcolm thought that he killed the person that killed his wife, but really he killed an innocent man. And it was his first kill, too. Here's Oliver. Where the fuck is he? Why is it not snowy wherever he is?
Couldn't stay away from me, could you?
Ray Shackle.
When he finds out that I'm alive, he is gonna come for me and my sister. He fights with swords, and he's good.
I think that's a bit of an under-exaggeration, Oliver. In many different iterations of DC Comics, Ra's al Ghul is the greatest fighter on the planet. Saying he fights with swords and he's good, that is such an that is so underselling who Ra's is. Then again, they did enough hyping up of him in The Climb, so they're allowed to make a couple jokes like this. Especially since he's got Malcolm scared shitless. Ra's still has an intimidating presence. Don't read too much into this line.
Mastery of souls is more than mastery of technique. To defeat this man, you must think like him. Your only hope for such a teacher was myself. Only the student has hope of defeating the master.
So I guess that's sort of bridging the gap to why Oliver eventually asks Malcolm to train him. Oliver is a very skilled fighter, but he's not Ra's al Ghul League of Assassins training skilled, you know?
I told you I killed the person who killed my Rebecca. I recently learned I didn't. Everything I thought I believed in for the last 21 years is false. My wife's death remains unavenged.
So remember, the whole thing with the undertaking was about destroying the Glades to avenge the death of his wife. It's all been brought back up because of Brick.
The undertaking was for her. I truly believed I could change the Glades and prevent what happened to my family from happening to anyone else.
No, you wanted to destroy the Glades out of vengeance. So we're retconning crucial parts of Season 1 now. Malcolm says he wanted to try to change the Glades, but in the flashbacks from Season 1, we hear him say to Robert that they can't be saved. Cue flashback clip to Season 1, Episode 21.
For years we've been forcing the city's worst to do what is best. Leverage them to help us save the city, but it's not working. What have we truly accomplished? Nothing. Maybe it's because the Glades can't be fixed.
Are you suggesting we somehow leveled the Glades?
Down to the bedrock. Imagine it was Moira lying on that pavement, bleeding, calling your name, and then tell me you wouldn't be prepared to do what I am.
And here's the thing. I don't even know what the point of this is. I don't understand the motivation behind making Brick Rebecca Merlin's killer. Is it to make Malcolm more morally gray? Because I would argue he was already pretty morally gray in season 1. During season 1, Malcolm's primary goal was to destroy the Glades out of vengeance. And he was undeniably a bad person. He did not care how many people died during the undertaking, as evidenced by this conversation from season 1, episode 9.
Thousands of innocent people will be dead, and you'll feel nothing.
That's not true. I'll feel a sense of accomplishment.
But you could also always tell that he cared for his family, specifically for Tommy. And you could actually argue, and I'd agree with you if you argued this, that Malcolm cared about Tommy more than he cared about the undertaking. So, as far as moral grayness goes, yeah, Malcolm was already there. So adding this doesn't make Malcolm more complex or more morally gray. It just does absolutely nothing for his character. So I have genuinely no idea why this plot is a thing. Oh, right, because the writers have absolutely no idea what else to do with him! That's why his character keeps getting fucked, okay? It's because the writers have John Barrowman here, but they know in the back of their heads, he has already served his purpose as a character, and they are just keeping him around because John Barrowman is John motherfucking Barrowman. And if this is something they were always planning on doing in this season, why wasn't this revelation made like last episode? We could have gotten some actual relevant development for Malcolm, or at least had him do something outside of bitch and moan about Thea not wanting to leave Starling City with him. This whole arc, this whole 3-episode arc has a lot of problems, and it's just so poorly conceived that, like, I don't even know what we're doing with Malcolm right now. I don't even know what we're doing with half of the characters right now. Thea's sitting here doing nothing. Roy and John are sitting here doing nothing. Felicity, Laurel, and Ray are getting a little bit of character work, but basically that's it. Without Oliver as the central figurehead of Starling City, the writers have no idea what to do with these characters, because Oliver is the character. He's the main guy. Everyone else is a side character. And so when Oliver's not in Starling, not only does the writing around Starling get worse, but the writing around Oliver gets worse. Let me not remind you of the plot contrivance of how lucky Oliver got to survive falling off that mountain. Tell me, what have Oliver, Tatsu, and Maseo accomplished in that shack for the last 2 weeks? I'm definitely going to title this video, Does Arrow Work Without Arrow? And I'm just going to answer my own question here. No. No, it doesn't. It's just like I said, ever since Oliver fell off that mountain, the quality of the show fell off of it with him. Look, the first half of season 3 wasn't always firing on all cylinders, but there were more episodes that were good than that weren't, you know? And even most of the episodes that you could consider bad had things about them that were good. The Secret Origin of Felicity Smoke, Draw Back Your Bow, those were better episodes than people are willing to give them credit for. There's stuff about those episodes that worked. I can't say the same for the Brickology here, dude. I just can't. I guess Laurel works. We can give this trilogy of episodes that, but most of the rest of this just seems like the writers trying to very desperately try to unfuck themselves out of the situation they've now put themselves in. I think that the big mid-season finale moment that they had of Oliver dying kind of backfired on them because they didn't have a plan to fully execute on that and allow the side characters to really come into their own. With the exception of Laurel, who has had a decent transition into becoming Black Canary.
Decent, albeit pretty rushed. But the entire rest of the cast, I think, was written better before Oliver died. I think this arc was supposed to be about the side characters coming into their own, but it needed more time to be able to do that. Oh, hard cut to, oh.
Your dad told me that your mom's an angel now. I don't want her to be an angel, Ali. I want her to go back to being my mom.
Oh.
I have a friend in the police department. He says that they have a person of interest. They don't have enough evidence yet to convict him, but if it were me, I'd want to know.
Maybe we should get Merlin to solve our brick problem for us.
You would have just as much trouble finding brick as we've had. They're cutting down cell towers and disconnecting traffic cams and staying out of satellite line of sight. Like,
Okay, dude, like, fucking real talk here. How the hell do you stay out of satellite line of sight?
his men, they were
using walkies.
So if I send out a frequency burst, I should be able to triangulate their location.
The Glades precinct.
Well, it's not like the police are using it.
Great. We can add irony to the list of charges against Britt. I've cut the power.
This stairwell looks eerily similar to the one in St. Walker's Hospital in Season 1. I mean, reusing sets isn't uncommon, it's just something I noticed. Firstly, group shots. Secondly, this shot goes hard for some reason. Just the coloring of it, the fire in the background, John Barrowman's stern expression. This shot is good.
It seems we have a common interest. Since my death, maintaining my usual network of associates has become problematic. But the fact that you were able to locate Mr. Brickwell despite the fact that he has gone to ground demonstrates your group's capacity.
We led you right to him.
And I saved your lives in the bargain. Why not continue our association?
Malcolm, please, for the love of God, do not join the group of characters that just lets villains get away. In fact, actually, you're basically already a card-carrying member with the number of times you've been down this bunker this season, and the fact that you just let Brick get away instead of putting 2 more arrows in his chest. Also, why the fuck does Malcolm even have this conversation with them? If he just let them find Brick again, he could have showed up at the last second and put some arrows in the guy's chest and killed him, all while retaining his anonymity and the bugs that he put in the arrow bunker. But because he went there, and because he confirmed that he followed them to find out where Brick was, they're going to search the bunker. They're going to find his bugs, and he's not going to be able to get any more free information. Remember when I said that this is the season that makes Malcolm an actual fucking idiot? Exhibit A.
Brick's tax collector's giving you trouble?
No, it's Malcolm. He found out who murdered his wife. He's fixated on finding the guy and killing him.
Isn't killing people exactly what Malcolm Merlin does?
Yes, but he also protects people. During the siege, he was the only one who made me a top priority. He saved my life.
Here's the thing. I can understand why she thinks that. But to everyone else's credit, Thea was in the city that they were trying to save. So while she specifically wasn't the priority, her being saved was a byproduct of saving everyone else. Everyone else was thinking big picture, Malcolm was thinking little picture. Because at that point, Malcolm was actually a character. But I don't blame Oliver or Roy or anybody else for focusing big picture. I don't blame them for that. Also, based on Malcolm's thought process and pattern of behavior so far this season, it's likely that the new explanation for why he saved Thea is that he did it exclusively so that he could groom her in the exact way that he does during this season.
He cares about people.
Cared. Past tense. Before he groomed you and mind-controlled you to kill your friend. In order to do that to another human being, but to your own child especially, you have got to be a sociopath.
There has to be a better way to go about doing it than to get in bed with Malcolm Merlin.
There isn't. Just like Thea did the night of the siege, we need him.
I can't think of a world or a universe or a plane of existence where Oliver would agree to any of this.
We need to make decisions of our own.
I do agree with Roy that they need to actually make decisions of their own and step out of Oliver's shadow. But we're halfway through the episode and Oliver comes back to Starling in this one. So their time to make those choices and for those choices to matter is running out. Of course, we can focus on mourning Oliver. We absolutely should be focusing on that, but now is way past time for this team to actually make a decision for themselves. God, I do not want to hate this episode. But in my defense, this has kind of been the culmination of everything I don't like about Arrow post Oliver's death so far. Or at least about this arc. It feels very rushed. It obviously, like I said, it feels like we're on a clock for this team to actually do anything that's worthwhile, because Oliver's coming back in how much time we got left in the episode? 20 minutes? Oliver's coming back in 18 minutes, 17 minutes, probably closer to 15 actually. Malcolm is written not at all consistently from episode to episode. Brick still has absolutely no death. By the way, his name is in the list and no one has talked about it because, and here's the thing, like with Isabel Rochev, in season 1, that was an Easter egg. But now they kind of have to deal with the fact that his name was in the list and just, Malcolm compiled the thing. Brick contributed to the undertaking, and I still know absolutely nothing about him as a character. Although maybe that's the point with Brick. Maybe he's not supposed to be a character. Maybe he's just supposed to be a thing in Team Arrow's way. And if that was the intent, I mean, his name is Brick. His name is literally Brick, so him being like a brick wall in the way of Team Arrow, if that's what the writers intended, then you know what? I'm gonna give them some leeway for not really making him a real character, because that I think works, but you know what? Maybe in the next 20 minutes of the episode, they can salvage this.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
Really thought we'd throw in with you. After what you did to Thea, to Sarah, to Oliver.
So see, here's the thing though, they keep bringing up what he did to Thea and Sarah and Oliver. They keep bringing that up, but then they want to paint him as like, oh yeah, Malcolm was always this. No, not in this season. He wasn't. You've painted Malcolm now with what he did to Thea and Sarah and Oliver. You've painted him as a completely self-interested sociopath. You can't unpaint him like that. And here's the thing. Even back in season 1, Malcolm saw the undertaking. The death of, if half of the undertaking took 503 people, the death of 1,000 people in the Glades, potentially more. Malcolm saw that as a goal to be accomplished. He also said this about the people in the Glades in the season 1 finale.
They deserve to die! All of them! The way she died!
Now, on the surface, it might seem stupid of me to bring this up, because you may have gotten the impression that I thought Malcolm was some virtuous, unsung good guy based on how much I've been hating on him throughout this episode. But no. Malcolm in season 1 was always a bad person. But he was never a sociopath. He always had his family, specifically Tommy, to ground him. And I do believe that if Tommy had learned about the undertaking earlier and managed to get through to Malcolm, that he would have stopped the undertaking. Because that's how much he cared about his son. This season took that away from Malcolm. He no longer has any care for his family. Based on what he did to Thea, he doesn't have it in him anymore. And that was a defining feature of his character. You take that away, you cut that cord, that connection Malcolm has to his family, there is nothing left for the audience to relate to about this character. There is no amount of sympathy you can drum up through flashbacks, and there is no moral grayness in his actions. He's a sociopath. He's a villain that just wants more power, wants to rule the League of Assassins, and put his own daughter. He groomed and then mind-controlled his own daughter and made her kill her friend. He did that in an attempt to get his blood debt erased from the League ledger. He did it to get him one step closer to becoming the next Ra's al Ghul. You see why. You see why this is such a big deal for me, as someone that genuinely loved Malcolm in season 1. He was still evil, like he is in season 3. But there was an element of humanity to him that is gone in season 3 because of what he did to Thea. Because he doesn't care about her. Because he has no connection to his family, because the writers removed that connection. So there is no moral grayness that I'm willing to give Malcolm. I'm not willing to take him at his word, and when he says that he cares about Thea or that he wants her to come with him and leave Starling, she's just his weapon. She's just his tool. Because that's all she was to him. That's why he used her to kill Sarah. That's how I see it. That's how I see it based on the evidence that the season has provided me. So no, I'm not giving him any leeway. And I also actively hate that the show is giving him leeway. This is bad writing.
Once we let the end justify the means, that's just the first step.
Towards what?
Becoming you.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
That one line right there, that one small exchange at the end of that conversation, that's like a microcosm of what happened to Malcolm this season. And let me just again reiterate, there is no ends that justify what Malcolm did to Thea. I feel no sympathy for Malcolm. Just either kill him, have him kill Brick, or both.
Excuse me. I want to know what drives a man to do what you do. To ruin other men's lives.
You're not gonna shoot me. I bet you never even held a gun before. Go back to your rich neighborhood.
Look, not that I don't enjoy seeing season 3 Malcolm getting the snot kicked out of him, but I also feel like it would have been a really nice callback here for this guy to have been like, you know, if you wanted to use that, you should first click the safety off.
If you're going to use that, you'll want to click the safety off.
Also, this might just be set dressing, but there is a telephone box behind Malcolm here, and I feel like that could be a Doctor Who reference, because John Barrowman, the actor that plays Malcolm, was on Doctor Who, modern Doctor Who, and its spin-off Torchwood. So I feel like this might potentially be a TARDIS Easter egg. Yeah, he's shot.
I can't stay here. Your son needs you, Mel. Not like this. Killing him did nothing. It didn't cleanse this anger. I've heard about a place where anger can be forged into something else.
Something else. Every time that they say that on this show, it's supposed to invoke that imagery of I had to become someone else, something else from the intro, you know? Drawing another parallel here between Malcolm and Oliver. And see, like, I want to be able to appreciate that, but again, you ruined the other character that you're comparing Oliver to here by... I've said it 1,000 times at this point. I don't need to repeat myself.
Roy's right. We need the support out there. But Merlin, he's not the only person in town.
Who else is there?
The town.
That's an idea.
You've been busy? Are you gonna tell me that masked blonde that I seen in the news isn't you?
I didn't come here to argue with you.
What did you come here for?
So for the same reason that I counted Roy's conversation with Quentin earlier, this one also counts as an identity reveal, only this time Laurel went to Ted to tell him that she's the Black Canary and ask him for help fighting Brick. So she went there with the intention to tell him that she was Black Canary. He guessed what she was going to tell him correctly. It counts. It's going on the counter.
That a Monte Cristo? Those will kill you a lot quicker than being in this neighborhood.
Hey.
Where the hell have you been? I saw Sarah last night. Why didn't you tell me she was back?
We need to talk about that.
Oh, Roy tells her and then she tells Quentin.
My two favorite trick-or-treaters.
Daniel Brickwell.
You failed this city.
Hey!
You seem to have failed in your maths. Can't you see there's a lot more of us than there is of you?
Guess again, brickhead.
Get him! And which costume are you supposed to be? Wildcat.
Okay, I think this is as good of a pause as I'm gonna get on it. And I know I already made a joke about this, but this is the best that they could do for the Wildcat suit. I know that going all in on the cat thing was not going to be what Arrow did, but you couldn't have given him like a black jumpsuit with the, you know, with the iconic, like the white bands around his arm, or you couldn't do better than this. Lot of shaky cam. Oh wow, he actually... Wait, that doesn't make sense. Wait, this doesn't make sense. Brick's skull is bulletproof. I'm really supposed to believe that Ted was able to do this? Oh right, I forgot. Brick has no rules.
Is that all you got?
That's what should happen.
How many more of you marks are there?
Allie here looks very similar to where Malcolm killed the guy he thought killed Rebecca. I mean, it did happen in the Glades, and that's where Brick's taking over now, so I don't think it's actually said, but I'm gonna headcanon that this is the same Allie, just so that we get that little extra bit of catharsis here. Oh, that's right. Roy doesn't tell her. Sin sees this, and that's how she finds out that it's not Sarah. And like, I really don't understand why this is how Sin finds out. Is it just because Sin doesn't know Ted? Is it because she doesn't think Sarah would be crying over her supposed friend's body as he's barely clinging on to life, half dead on the pavement? Why is this how Sin finds out that Sarah's not Sarah? I don't get it.
Oliver?
And they played the little arrow stinger there, the dun, 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 dun. But all I'm wondering is, did Oliver stop off at the bunker to get his gear? Because if he did, then Felicity already knows he's alive and would have told them that Oliver's alive. So this makes no sense. And of course, this isn't even mentioning the fact that how the fuck did Oliver get here in time? Because the last time we saw him, he was boarding a truck to who knows where. Was the truck right outside Starling? Was the mountain that he fought Roz on right outside Starling? They never explain it. Where the fuck did Oliver go? Where the fuck did he come from?
This is for Rebecca. What? She ran the clinic right here in the Glades.
Brunette? Yeah, now I remember.
Don't do it!
Yo, the goat is back! The goat is back to fix the show!
Drop the gun. No more death.
It's easy for you to say you just returned from the grave.
For the record, I'm surprised that Malcolm didn't have more of a shocked reaction to this. Malcolm sent Oliver off to his death, okay? He should have reacted to seeing Oliver there. But, of course, we don't have time for that.
If I had taken care of him back then, it could all be different. The League, the undertaking, Tommy.
Bullshit! For the last 21 years of your life, you thought you got the right guy. And you still went and did the undertaking. You still went and joined the League. Killing Brick back then changed nothing. Because you, for the last 21 years, thought you had the right guy. So season 1 still would have happened. Season 2 still would have happened. The first 9 episodes of this season still would have happened. And the only thing that would be different is that the rest of the season might be better. So you know what? In hindsight, actually, I wish you had taken care of him 21 years ago, Malcolm. Because then, none of us would be in this situation.
You make a different choice now for Thea.
Thea will never forgive me.
Start giving her reasons to.
I could actually psychoanalyze this situation a little bit here and say that Malcolm is trying to convince Oliver to let him do this like a narcissist would, because he can't see any worldview outside his own. And you see, this situation here is completely, wildly different from the one in The Climb. When he was with Oliver in The Climb, he was very cocky, overconfident, because he had Thea as leverage. He literally ended that by saying,
I'm gratified to see that Thea is still sufficient motivation.
But here, he's now completely switched gears and is appealing to Oliver as someone else who has killed. And when that doesn't work, he brings up Thea. I'll say this, Malcolm's a good manipulator. He's good at that, and not much else. Also, here's another thing, Ollie. If Malcolm wanted to be better, I know which kid he would have been better for. Because Malcolm doesn't care about Thea.
I've been gone, and I'm sorry. Sorry for what the city has had to endure in my absence. But you did endure it. And the evidence of that struggle is lying at my feet. You did not fail this city.
That one counts! I'm counting that! Yo, let's go! Oliver the GOAT is back!
That woman running around in black leather tonight, that wasn't Sarah.
Well, sure it was. Who else would it be?
Well, I don't know.
What do you mean? I've spoken to her.
Well, then you should know that wasn't your daughter.
I mean, I guess it was only a matter of time before Quentin found out once Laurel put the costume on.
Where have you been? I'm so worried about you.
I was in Bloodhaven, and I actually spent the past few weeks in jail.
I thought you grew out of that.
So did I.
Good to see you again, Oliver. Yeah. I wasn't always like this, you know. Killing changes you. It takes away a piece of your soul and you can never get it back again.
I mean, I'd argue Oliver did at the end of season 2. I'd argue that Oliver got that piece of his soul back. But then again, Oliver's a good person who had actual character development. Because Malcolm's character is whatever the scene that he's in needs him to be. After these last 3 episodes, can you honestly tell me that is an incorrect analysis of Malcolm Merlyn in season 3 of Arrow?
I wasn't there for Tommy, but I see Thea as my chance for redemption.
You turned my sister into a killer, and then you put her in the crosshairs of one of the most dangerous men on the planet.
And you won't believe me, but I did so with a heavy heart and expecting a different outcome.
Well, Malcolm, if you expected a different outcome, then you're stupid as fuck, okay? That is Ra's al Ghul, and you're talking to Oliver Queen, who has less League training than you, and therefore is a less capable fighter than you. And no, I don't believe that you did it with a heavy heart, because there is absolutely no rational reason that a human being does that to their child.
Ross is going to come for me. This time, I will have you to train me.
Only the student has hope of defeating the master.
I am Misa, and
to the demon.
I'm not here to fight you.
Why shouldn't I kill you?
Oh my god, he did the fucking magic trick.
Elsa, the magician.
That's so dumb. No, that's such lazy writing, dude. Also, why didn't the League kill this intruder on sight? There's no way he would be allowed into the foyer of Nana Parbat, right by the magic jacuzzi, dude.
You kept the city together. Saved the Glades.
Oh, Oliver, you helped.
It's Ra's al Ghul's, right?
Yep.
So what are we gonna do about him?
Merlin and I are working on that. I need to know how to defeat Ra's. Merlin has the knowledge.
Merlin is a monster. You're in this situation. Thea is in this situation because of him. Just a few hours ago, I stood right here and I swore that there was no way that you would ever agree to work with Malcolm Merlin. Not ever.
Can she not understand that Malcolm has League training and Oliver needs to have a lot of that in a short amount of time if he wants to beat Ra's? Can she really not comprehend the logical reason behind Oliver working with Malcolm here? Like, I don't like it either, alright? I agree, Felicity, Malcolm's a monster. There's a character in Black Lightning, his name's Lala, and what essentially happens to him is that every time he dies, he gets brought back. Either in the same body, or if his body is unrecoverable, then he gets revived in a tube. But there's this thing that happens to him in Season 4 of Black Lightning, where he gets put in concrete. And essentially, it's like the carbonadium for Han Solo. Malcolm deserves that. Malcolm deserves to not be able to die, but to keep dying over and over and over through suffocation via concrete. Okay? Can we agree on that, Felicity? Here's the thing, though. We now need to also agree that Oliver is completely outmatched against Ra's al Ghul. He landed one blow against the dude. Oliver needs a lot of training in a short amount of time if he wants to hope to in his lifetime beat Ra's. And if you can't understand the logic in that, then I'm sorry, you're stupid. Who's the greatest hacker in the world, people? Felicity Smoke. But apparently she can't see the logic in getting training from someone who has been trained by Ra's al Ghul.
I'm sorry.
For letting us believe you were dead? For weeks?
That's not fair. I had to cut it from the episode due to time constraints, but Oliver just got done telling the team about how it was impossible for him to contact them due to there being a lack of cell service. So no, Felicity, Oliver did not let you believe he was dead for weeks. It was literally impossible for him to prove otherwise. You fucking glue eater.
Or for abandoning every principle you claim to have by getting into bed with Malcolm Merlin.
That's not why you're upset.
While you were gone, I allowed myself to dream that maybe Merlin was wrong, that you were alive, and that you would come back, and that when you did, you would be different, that almost dying would give you a new perspective on life, that you would just do things differently.
Things between us, you mean?
Felicity, he kissed you, you rejected him. You do not get to do what you are doing right now. You do not. Is this why people hate her? Is this why? Because if this is why, I get it now. I finally get it. Now look, I know that I've been shitting on Felicity during this scene, but I'm not actually gonna hold this against her. Alright, look, is some of the stuff she's saying just completely wrong? Yes, and I've made sure to highlight that. But if you look at it from her perspective, Oliver comes back, and the first thing that he says is that he's working with the man who orchestrated his own death. He's working with Malcolm, the man who set up the dominoes that led to Oliver getting kicked off a mountain. The man who groomed his own daughter. The man who killed her friend, Sarah. The man who killed 503 people, including his own son. Oliver is going to work with that guy. And I'm sure that there is a logical part of her that understands why Oliver is working with Malcolm, that understands that he needs the League training. But sometimes emotion trumps logic. So I don't really think that the contents of this argument are all justifiable, especially not the stuff about, I thought that you would be different, that you would have, that you would want to have a reason for living. I get that that's a connection back to the second episode of this season, but again, Felicity, he kissed you, you rejected him, fuck off about that point, okay? That's fucking stupid. But again, I see where she's coming from, and I'm not gonna really hold this against her.
Before you left, the last thing you said to me was that you loved me. Now you're back, and the first thing you tell me is that you are working with the man who turned your sister, a woman you're supposed to love, into a killer, who killed a woman you used to love. I don't want to be a woman that you love.
Oh, thank God this episode's over. Fucking Christ, that was horrible. This has been the worst episode I have watched in a long fucking time. Oh my God, I'm so glad this episode is over. I'm so glad. Fucking Christ, I'm going to sleep. Alright. Let's put this arc to bed. Plot is a 1, and even that's generous. I like the episode proposing the question that it proposes. But it was not handled well, because they'd already warped Malcolm into a sociopath who destroyed everything that he once stood for. Killing isn't what turned Malcolm into a sociopath. What did? But aside from that one thing, the overall structure of the episode is pretty bad, with multiple characters making stupid decisions, characters just showing up out of nowhere and then fucking off, never to be seen again, Oliver traveling a supposedly long distance from the mountain to Starling in a matter of hours, and showing up at the exact time they needed him, Brick's powers being non-existent during the climax, etc., etc., ad nauseum. Also, Malcolm lets Brick get away from the police precinct. Brick, who he just found out murdered his wife. How is this episode not over 20 minutes in? Why did Malcolm not give chase? What the fuck, writers? But I will admit, if you turn off your brain, the episode does have a season finale feel to it, which I do think it's supposed to have. It would have been felt a lot more had there been more than 3 episodes of story here, but I am going to give them a few points for it. I haven't given Characterization a score this low since The Huntress Returns, but I think it's justified here. Malcolm touches every character beat in this episode, and the episode is worse for it. Malcolm's manipulation of Thea causes her to stand up for him and convince Roy to side with him. Malcolm's ideals are seemingly what Tatsu references to remind Oliver that he might lose himself trying to stop Roz. Malcolm tries, albeit unsuccessfully, to manipulate Oliver into allowing him to kill Brick, and in a few different ways as well. Felicity being unable to see that Malcolm has physical skills Oliver should probably learn is what causes her to turn on Oliver at the end. Everything goes back to Malcolm. Although that last one is a little forgivable looking at it from Felicity's perspective. She's definitely smart enough to know that Oliver's just using him to become a better fighter, but sometimes emotion overpowers logic, so I'm not gonna hold this one against her all that much. I'm just so over what they did to Malcolm this season, and it didn't even need to be this way. Malcolm did not need to return. He could have died in season 1 and the show would have been better for it. He already served his purpose. There was no reason to bring him back, and you had absolutely nothing new for him to do. Now, while all of this is in line with Malcolm's characterization in season 3, that doesn't make him well-written, presented, or enjoyable. So yeah, points get docked for that shit. Visuals here, like the rest of the arc, are below average. the major fight in the climax especially just feels sloppy. I don't know if it was due to choreography, direction, or what, but it just feels... I don't have another word for it. It just feels sloppy. I'll be nice and give him a few importance points, though. The episode pushes some subplots forward, explores Malcolm's backstory, and most importantly, it brings Oliver back to fix the show, because it was desperately missing him. I'm sure that some people other than me must have just gotten a kick out of something in this episode, like the cameos, Malcolm's flashbacks, the return of Oliver, the Goat Queen, but for me, all of that was drowned out pretty quickly and pretty easily. The ending scene especially just pissed me off the first time that I watched it. I got to experience it with a level head while in editing, and so it was different, but just in my initial watch, it just pissed me off. This officially makes Uprising the lowest rated episode of Arrow so far. Sure, it's only by 1 point, but we've finally gotten an episode lower than The Huntress Returns. So, congratulations, Season 3. You currently hold the record for my lowest rated episode of Arrow. And judging by how the rest of the season is shaping up, you might also be the first season to not have an episode with a perfect score. I'm still going into the back half with an open mind because I really liked the first half of the season, but I will say that my optimism has dulled significantly since the Brick arc. That is it for this episode, guys. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to leave a like and a comment. That'd be greatly appreciated. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already so that you can join us as soon as freaking possible. And while I'm plugging everything else, be sure to click the bell so that you get notified whenever we upload any of these crap videos or stream, because they're pretty low quality too. But apart from that, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys. This is Demigod Shmurda. Edge!